Good evening. Monday, July 13th, 2026, regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Fletcher Berry.
Here.
Lauren Campbell. Lisa Harms.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
Item 3, public forum. This is the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. No public comment. Consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
5A, consideration of resolution number 2026-51, a resolution authorizing the ARL to coordinate intake, veterinary services, and reclaim services related to community cats in Windsor Heights.
Second.
AJ?
Yes, now that the code update is complete, we have the authority to move forward with the trap neuter return program here in Windsor Heights. Our first partner with that is the Animal Rescue League of Iowa. They are a trained veterinarian clinic, and we have obtained live traps. We have some at City Hall. The ARL also has some. So we've got a web page. It's linked in the staff report. It's not currently live until after this meeting if approved, but it outlines how residents can participate in the trap neuter return program. They can schedule a veterinary clinic with the ARL, or if we have another veterinary partner at some point in the future, them obtain that trap, schedule the veterinary appointments, trap the cat, take the cat to the ARL. The ARL will evaluate the cat's health. If not already, neuter it, clip its ear, microchip it, and then the resident would be responsible for what's currently a $60 fee and to return the cat back to the place of trapping. There would be instances where the cat's not healthy enough to be returned to the place of trapping, maybe euthanized. There's other instances where it may be a kitten or it may be social enough that it could be adopted. But generally, the practice would be to return the cat back to its previous location with any vaccinations and having been neutered. Beyond that, there should not be a lot of city involvement other than providing and recollecting the traps that are brought back and forth between City Hall. Police does occasionally get involved in animal control, but other than potentially reading some microchips on cats that may or not be community cats, hopefully they'll have a limited involvement as well. So appreciate everything the ARL has done over the last year to work with us. I don't see Steve here tonight, but they've been great to work with, and I think they're looking forward to moving forward with the program in Windsor Heights, similar to how it works in Des Moines. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Lisa Harms.
Yes.
5B, consideration of participation in Mid-Iowa Narcotics Enforcement Mine Task Force.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Everybody else. My name is Mike Earlbeck. I'm a lieutenant here in Windsor Heights. I've been here since December 2016. One of two lieutenants. I oversee our detectives and complex investigations, just to give a little bit of background. For the purpose of this, the police department is requesting approval to continue its memorandum of understanding with the Mid-Iowa Narcotics Enforcement, commonly known as MINE, Task Force through July 1st, 2028. Detective Davison's participation has enhanced the department's investigative capabilities, provided advanced training and professional development, and contributed to successful investigations involving narcotics, firearms, commercial sex services, and human trafficking within Windsor Heights. The partnership has also generated financial benefits through overtime reimbursement and equipment savings while maintaining Detective Davison's availability to support department operations. Detective Davison will still assist the department with investigations of complexity and shift coverage where necessary. The Public Safety Committee reviewed the request to continue the MOU through July 2028 on our meeting at June 18th, 2026. And it recommended continuing participation and subject to future budget considerations. Approval will continue to strengthen our partnerships with other law enforcement agencies, improve public safety, and provide opportunities for additional grant funding. Without Mind Partnership, the City of Windsor Heights has with Mind Partnership, the City of Windsor Heights has the ability to rely on the task force for drug investigations within the city. Without an officer on the task force, the department would have to rely on the State Division of Narcotics Enforcement, commonly known as DNE, or the DEA. I don't have them on speed dial, and they probably don't call me back. Every narcotics investigation has the potential to prevent overdoses, reduce violent crime, and improve neighborhood safety. By combining local, county, state, and federal resources, the Mind Task Force serves as a force multiplier for participating communities, which ensures that dangerous drug trafficking organizations are identified, investigated, and prosecuted effectively. I do have some stats that Mind provided. They would be listed in there as one of the ancillary documents for it as well. We started in July of last year. These statistics run through the end of May of this year. So we're about a month and a half. They've added to that for about 90 more days. But the Mind Task Force continues to deliver measurable public safety outcomes throughout the region. So in that time frame, they did over 300 criminal investigations, nearly 150 search warrants, about 475 criminal charges filed. They did 64 agency assistance callouts, 131 illegal firearms were seized, and they conducted over 20 overdose investigations. Those are typically going to be fatal overdoses. They will accompany non-fatal as well, but they will always respond to fatal for sure. To put a monetary value on it in that time, $1.6 million in illegal drugs were removed from the local community. And over $375,000 in criminal proceeds seized. So that's just essentially taking money from the drug traffickers. And then just specifically in Windsor Heights, this is just a recent investigation. They've also helped with a recent overdose. They respond to traffic stop call outs and so forth. But recently from one investigation, they seized over 200 grams of methamphetamine, 35 grams of marijuana, almost 900 grams of THC extracts. That's like your wax and your oil. 163 THC vape pens. Those are usually going to high schoolers. LSD, which I've never seen in my career. It is around. There's 100 dosage units of that. And in that one investigation alone, there's 13 illegal firearms seized and almost $5,000 in cannabis product manufacturing equipment. So if you saw the ancillary documents, mine, I know they spoke a couple weeks ago, they would have provided that. Chief Johansson of the Urbandale Police Department, who is, I believe, the mine chair, had a supporting document as well. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. That's just kind of the statement or the thing we have wrote up here.
From a public safety committee perspective, this was a topic that we discussed at our last public safety meeting, where similar information was shared with us. And I think it was, had unanimous support to continue Mind involvement from the Public Safety Committee. I just wanted to include that in there too.
Yes, that was the June 18th meeting. Yep.
It sounds right.
Lieutenant, can you remind us which municipalities are a part of mine?
I think there's 13. But I know locally you're going to have Des Moines PD. I actually have Detective Davis in here. Would you be able to point them all out because you work with them every day?
Yeah, so.
I don't want to miss a couple or misname one. There is a list. I just don't have it available.
So assigned out at our offices out there, we have a special agent from the DNE. We have Urbandale. We have 2 detectives from Polk County. We have Altoona, we have West Des Moines, myself, Ankeny, Dallas County, Clive, and Des Moines PD. So Des Moines has their own task force, but they let us have Schaff because she's amazing. And so, so that's what we have, so. And 2 sergeants, Urbandale and the sheriff's office provide those.
And even does the National Guard provide an employee?
Yes, we have an analyst from the National Guard, and he does all of our intel stuff. He dumps our phones that we get, that we seize, which is extremely handy. He's right there in the office, has all these computers and all these stuff that he does out there. And it's really, you know, quicker than what. So let's say if Lieutenant Earlbeck needed to dump a phone here for an investigation or something like that, he would have to find somebody around because we don't have the equipment to do that. And then it would be at their leisure to whenever they would get to it or whatever. We have the ability just to have it done out there, so.
Well,
There were,
go ahead. So there were a few cities that you didn't list. Not saying that you forgot them because I don't believe they're on the task force, but they're kind of the smaller cities. So do they not receive any help from, like, would they not fall under the umbrella of Polk County Sheriff? I'm thinking specifically, I'll throw out like Granger and Polk City.
So Granger is policed by the sheriff's office. So they would,
Granger is or Grimes?
I'm sorry, Grimes, yes. So Granger, no.
Polk City as well. They would.
Yeah,
without-
Polk City
without
doesn't.
representation, they wouldn't be able to rely
Johnston
on-
doesn't participate.
But I mean, we're still talking, these have police departments. I'm just saying, you know, they don't receive, I mean, they still receive stuff from the DEA, from State Patrol, from, I mean, they're not just hanging out there on their own.
Probably if they ask for it, yeah. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I don't know how they handle theirs.
Just for clarification purposes, so you said are there 13 communities or 13 people? Because you didn't name 13 communities.
I just looked online, Newton, Carlisle, Pleasant Hill. Is Pleasant Hill still?
Is not.
That's not, okay.
No.
AI overview is wrong. My apologies.
And they have,
No.
so the mine, so we're centrally located, we're the mine central portion. There is also an association with the Mine East, which is Jasper County. So they have Jasper County, Marion County, Knoxville, Pella has a representative there, Powashik County. We're all in the same group. They just work out of the different area over there. So that would make your 13 probably.
Okay, all right. So I will reiterate my concerns with this in lieu of the cost and our current budget concerns. And the fact that if you look at most of these communities, they're much larger than us. And from my understanding, the conversations that I've had, that we would continue to get the services that we would need from whether it's, DPS or obviously we are part of the county otherwise. So those are services. We are all otherwise paying Polk County taxes. We all pay a county tax, so that means we would have access to those services. From what I understand, again, in the conversations that I've had with others. So I think at this time, it doesn't make sense for us to continue this, particularly because it was done or the MOU was signed without, or we don't even have a current MOU, or I don't even know how that goes because it was not current. And I do understand that there is a quote unquote current contract. I don't know at what that was signed. I wish I better understood that through July 1 of 2008. Do we have a signed contract MOU? Do we not? Because I don't see a current one. So based on those things, I think we can better utilize these resources and our team here in our community, and we'll be able to get the support and services that we need because those are otherwise supports and services that our taxpayers, our taxes otherwise pay for.
I just want to add that I agree completely with you, Teresa. I think mine is a great opportunity. It's a great agency per se to have on our side. But we also are facing some tough questions here with budget and with staffing. And I think I've already been asked by 2 residents how we can justify this with the expenses. And so I wish if we had a whole bunch of money, then yes, this would be great for us. I think it's a great opportunity for our officers to go through and learn more, be involved more with other entities. And once we hopefully get our money back, this would be a great thing to get back into. But I think right now our staffing numbers, our budget, I'm just concerned about that and how it looks to our residents if we allow this to continue. Again, not saying this task force is not a needed or a good task force. I think it's a great task force to have.
AJ, can you clarify what we've committed to?
Yes, a 2080 went in front of council approximately a year ago. That MOU, or excuse me, not a 2080, an MOU went in front of council approximately a year ago. That MOU had the incorrect duration on it of approximately 6 months. It was revised and was re-executed at the staff level beyond that to what was the intended period, 3 years. That MOU, as does the original one, allows the city to withdraw at any point.
I really wish that at that point in time, when there was a wrong date, we were under the understanding we were signing for 6 months, and that was never brought back to us. And I think that was I think that's a major error.
That's a concern.
Yeah. And it wasn't brought to our attention. It wasn't until somebody asked about it. So it was all kind of done in secret. I don't like that. And here we are.
So the issue on the table is whether or not the participation continues through July 1st, 28, barring unforeseen circumstances, subject to budgetary adjustments in the coming fiscal years. That is the consideration and motion on the table, correct? Public Safety Committee heard this and unanimously recommended this continue, correct? Okay.
Just curious if it was said that we had this in place, that council knew about this, the MOU or whatever because I don't see it in here. I looked for it, and again, I could have missed it because there are a bunch of different papers here with things, so I don't see it, but were they aware that we had only approved it for 6 months at a council level, and then something happened and it was extended without council's?
The issue of we're calling back to the meeting, the issue was that the MOU had the wrong date on it. I'd need to go back. I should have gone back and looked through our meeting minutes from when we initially approved the mine, because I don't recall it just being a 6-month commitment in our conversation at the dais, even though it had the wrong date on it. So I'm not sure if that was if the gap was between what was just voted on at the dais and the document, or did the document actually match what we voted on here? So I can't confirm, but that did come up in our conversation at the Public Safety Committee about it. That the date had been only 6 months, was incorrectly only 6 months and then extended.
Further discussion?
What's the process for being reinstated if we choose to no longer participate?
Probably have to refer that to Chief Roth, because he did a lot of work.
Hi, Pete Roth with City of Windsor Heights. It's just what we did. The board will take us off. We need to be put back on it again. But when I have to go back and look at my original staff report. If I remember, I talked to AJ about this after this came up at a previous council meeting. And when I presented, it was a 3-year commitment. I think the staff report had 3 years on it. I can't go back and find it at this moment in time, but I will. The date on the bottom of that MOU was wrong. It was just effective through 2025, but I believe the actual body of it had the correct dates in it. So, and public safety and personnel and finance, when we went through all these steps, was a 3-year MOU commitment for the position. Again, I'd have to go back and listen to the council meeting back in April or February of 2025 when this first came up, when Kyle Johnson was put on the task force. And what I will just say, since I'm up here, is you've heard me say I love local control. I'm a big local control guy. I'm a big flexibility guy. When I first got here, all I heard about was a business on 73rd Street that no one could do a thing about. We called the state, we called the federal government, we called Dial, we called anybody we could. Nobody was available to help us. We went down the mine path, and within 3 months, we had an investigation wrapped up, and they have been closed pretty much since that was done. There have been several instances in town. I know that you have 2 residents that say, "What are we doing?" I have several residents saying, "I don't know what we're going to do if we have a drug problem in our community, because we will not be able to respond. We can respond to take initial reports. We just don't have the staffing to actually run with a narcotics investigation." Those other communities, there are several like Knoxville, agencies our size that participate in mine on the mine east side. And like Urbandale has 2 on it. Chief Johansson is the chairperson of mine. You saw the sheriff here at the last council meeting. You're not going to get the DNE bureau chief to come to a Windsor Heights council meeting to talk about an investigation. If we call them, we lose that control, whether it's the state or the federal government. When they come in, we're just done, right? So we have a prostitution complaint that we're looking into that came in last week. We've had 2 overdoses at mine. One mine came out with, it was an Urbandale detective that came out and did the follow-up on that over a weekend. And there are several active investigations now with drugs in our city. Our smaller towns around us, Granger, Woodward, don't have a Walmart, don't have a DART bus stop that brings people to our town to do that. And Polk City is a little different makeup than Windsor Heights is when it comes to homes and population and demographics, right? So the residents that have contacted us, even after the Public Safety Committee meeting, have really wanted to reach out to find a way to convince the council to stay on it at least for 2 more years. And since that meeting that we talked about it, we have implemented that new staffing model that the union had suggested, and our overtime has been cut. We've been covering shifts. We've spread out the supervisors to overlap the staffing, and so we've actually saved money with our model. So, and bringing us back into mine, you're looking at a $10,000 to $20,000 swing that the city has to eat, not the task force. That's what that is in there. So again, the error was mine on the memo that I proposed back in 2025. That's on me. I apologize. But the intent was 3 years. And I believe if you go back and watch the recording, I did talk about a 3-year commitment. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
I don't know if your question was answered.
So is it easy to just get back on? I mean, I think that's like, is this a big, long process of like a 6-month process, or is it, we apply to get back on and then we can get back on? I think, is that what you were kind of
Yeah,
wanting to know?
yeah.
It does take some time, but we have a detective that we've invested training into over the last year. Couple hundreds of thousands of dollars to go training on specific drug crimes. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, I'm sure we could get back on it, but it'll take some time. Yes, I got back to council. I got to go through their board. Again, the board is all the chiefs that are on it. That's who controls it. It's not some outside entity. It's all of us that make decisions on that. And again, it just will be, we can still investigate these types of crimes. It will be hard. It will be extremely hard for us. And they are occurring in
When we think about the regionalization conversation, one of the things that I always cringe when cities bring up, so of course I'm going to bring it up right now, is are we getting back out what we're getting in, and looking at the human trafficking, the drugs, the firearms. To me, this looks like we are getting a good return on our investment into mine. That the dollars that we're putting in, we are seeing the direct results of those dollars. Please don't use that argument for other things that I care about too, but the fact that there are active investigations, that we heard about that men's spa on 73rd Street for how long, including people taking pictures and, trying to solve it here within the city, but it was mine that was able to get it done. So the idea of leaving mine after we were in it and then we were out, and now that we're back in and then getting out, I think that creates a real risk for our city.
I would like to go back to that though. On the massage parlor, were the feds involved in that as well?
They were present as
Okay.
I guess they assisted us, but it was primarily done between the Windsor Heights PD, local agencies, Mine Task Force, and the Des Moines Vice Unit, their narcotics investigation unit. So it was primarily local municipalities. We did have federal partners present. But they didn't have like a hands-on approach necessarily. Sorry, I should have been talking to this. Did everybody catch that?
Yeah. AJ, is it critical that we make this decision tonight?
No, I think there's an argument that we have a difficult budget season in front of us, and there'll likely be a lot more conversation about where budget cuts may need to occur or operation changes need to occur over the course of the next couple of years. And, there'll probably be extensive conversations about each department and how it operates. And so, there was a commitment to bring this back to council for further discussion, as well as the committee. But I would say that you could wrap a final decision on this, or at least final insofar as something else could change from a financial standpoint or staffing perspective, into potential strategic planning or next year's budget conversations that'll begin this fall, and then work towards any change or no change that you might want to. So there's not an immediacy in my opinion of needing to pull out now or reaffirm this commitment for 2 years. We could continue with the status quo for the time being, although I'm sure our partner would like to know what our intent is.
Sure, I can see that. I do still wholeheartedly agree with Lauren and the decision that the Public Safety Committee made when we discussed this and put it forward. And I don't currently believe we have an FY27 budget problem. And so I don't find this to be an urgent change to be made. I think staying the course where we are is fine right now. I do think I'd be willing to withdraw my motion for us to get a full understanding of the timeline, so we can talk about that as it occurred. And then also what we committed to as a council a year ago, and knowing that clearly before we take the vote. I still plan on supporting this because I believe it's the right thing, but I think making sure that we have all of these questions answered, if we don't have the urgency before that, I think would be a better use of our time, 31 minutes into this meeting.
So if we do that, I want us to have a specific time frame for which I don't want it just to be punted for 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't want, or just, go along to get along. I think we need to put it to bed still. And so, if we're going to do that, then my recommendation would go back to
Public safety? Or
Personnel and finance.
personnel and finance and, review the contracting side of it, as you suggested. And then
bring it back here.
bring it back here.
Yeah.
One more.
Um,
Go ahead.
Officer Cody Brown just got off day shift. He would like to say a few things, if that's okay, Mayor.
Hello, I'm Officer Brown. This is gonna be really brief. Just want to talk about, from the department side with the officers, when it comes to, the mine task force and a morale standpoint. We are a small department. The mine task force position is one of our opportunities to do something outside of patrol. With removal of the task force, again, I know there's a budgetary concern. That removes one of two positions we have. That takes us down to one detective position, which is the only quote unquote promotable, but it's a cycle position that comes out. So once every 5 years, one officer would get a chance to do something outside of patrol. So I think from a morale standpoint, I know personally, and I know several of the officers below me in seniority have the same feeling that what do we do? We're stuck on patrol, say Mark comes back and comes off and the next person goes on, that's another 5 years outside of that. I have a concern with retention when it comes to that. Again, there's always a budget side, but there's a morale and a retention side as well when it comes to officers coming to the Metro. A lot of us came from small departments where there wasn't opportunity. We came to the Metro for opportunities, and budgets are hard, but I'm afraid that we're going to turn into a revolving door of hiring new officers, them leaving for somewhere with better opportunity. So, thank you.
Thanks, Cody.
My question quick was, so under this current agreement, we're slated through July of 28. What are we committed to financially for those next 2 years? What's the chunk of our budget that's going to this right now?
The extent of our budget is the personnel that participates in mine, and then we do receive back some portion of the proceeds that mine generates through compensations and impoundments. So it is one police officer, staff member, and any equipment that he would use. Chief, if you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and before I would add that, Susan, it was like in February, I believe, and the CERT position was also included in that staff report. So the CERT in mine, that's why that staff report was kind of convoluted with two requests on there, except for one back in 2025. So there wasn't
Advise me what we're talking about. I'm sorry.
the initial request to council back in 2025, where the timelines were that little misprint at the bottom of that MOU. At the bottom of that, that's why I think that I don't want the council to think that I was misleading them at all or anything like that about the commitment. But it was a 3-year commit on that. But it was February. If you're looking back at that council meeting, that's where that was. Budgetary wise, we pay for a position and we get 13 in return, 13 to 14 officers in return on major investigations. I know the mayor asked one of the presenters last time, what does a buy look like for undercover operations? That's 4 or 5 staff members or officers right there that, it includes overtime and scheduling, which we just don't have. And again, we're getting money back from Mark's participation in that. And again, it opens us up to some more grant opportunities as well. So And we've been very lucky or fortunate that we haven't had a major, I hate to say this out loud, so a major incident in Windsor Heights lately, but they always stand by to help us out with that if need to. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, if you had to give it just a number, what would be that number be?
His cost of his benefits,
Huh?
his salary.
His salary?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can we get, so when we bring this to committee, can we get a full account of the actual dollars? So we can actually have a conversation and know what those are? Because I would like to know the dollars too, Fletcher. So thanks for asking that question. So we need to know what those are, plus what we've gotten over the duration of the term of this agreement. So how much have we spent and what's been our ROI then, like in dollars? Because that you can continue to suggest that that's there. So I want all the pluses and all the minuses in real dollars. Thank you.
And you said it's the Personnel and Finance Committee. That will take it, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Personnel, I think you said personnel.
Were both of the motions withdrawn?
Yes, well, I think I need to withdraw mine, right?
Yep, you got it.
I withdraw mine.
Or did you?
Councilmember Jones made the original.
I made the original.
All right. Um. Five C, consideration of resolution 2026-52, a resolution approving the site plan for 964th Street, Walnut Creek Community Church.
Move to approve.
Second.
Hello, everyone. Long time no see.
Do you miss
Trey
us?
Rouse. Yeah, absolutely. Trey Rouse, City Planner. As we're pulling up the presentation here, we'll be going over a site plan at Walnut Creek Community Church, redevelopment at 964th Street. And then applicant information on the next slide. The current use is public assembly in the R3 multifamily residential zoning district located at 964th Street. The existing conditions, 2.82 acre lot, currently contiguous connected building, 25,549 square feet, consists of an eastern parking lot, southeastern parking lot, and southwestern parking lot, sidewalks on the site, access to 64th Street for parking in the main building access, and then also accesses on Lamar Place for parking as well. The current use of Walnut Creek Community Church has existed since its recording, in April of 1998. The uses remained the same since the establishment of Walnut Creek Community Church, with minor changes and additions to the property. The summary of the proposed project will remain its current use of public assembly, a redevelopment of the eastern portion of the church, and small redevelopment of impervious surface on the eastern parking lot, updated sidewalks, ADA ramps, and updated landscaping. So you'll have the dimension plan sheet. A large majority of the project will be right here on the church. There's a small bit of project work being done here. A previous adjustment and development of this parking lot increased their parking and actually pushed the parking lot over their property line and into the public right of way. City staff was of the opinion that that should be corrected while work is being done. So that is also denoted on the site plan. Going to land use compatibility and zoning, surrounded by on all sides by R3 multifamily with residential single family duplexes, residential multifamily, and then to the south is interstate and right of way. We have the bulk regulations of the R3 zoning district labeled there. Within the comprehensive plan, this area is identified as civic use, with that being defined as these areas include religious buildings, public facilities, schools, and other public and semi-public uses. When it comes to the future land use and future land use map, it abides by that.
within the zoning identifies R3. The R3 district is defined as a district that is intended to provide locations primarily for residential multifamily housing with supporting and appropriate community facilities. It also permits some non-residential uses such as offices through a special use permit procedure to permit development of mixed-use neighborhoods. The public assembly use is permitted use by right within the multifamily R3 residential zoning district. Traffic information, there wasn't a traffic study requested based upon the redevelopment in the project. The number of access points on 64th Street and Lamar Place are staying the same, and no additional traffic will be coming to the church. No parkland dedication was required for this development. Landscaping and planting, for all required redevelopments and developments, a minimum of 1 tree per 2,000 square feet impervious surface and 5 shrubs per 2,000 square feet impervious surface needs to exist on the site. That indicates 31 trees and 154 shrubs. They meet this requirement by providing 35 trees, 33 of those existing, 171 shrubs, 119 of those existing, denoted on the site plan as well. Building facade, there's no building facade requirement within the R3 zoning district. Stormwater and drainage, the changes being made on the site are very minimal when it comes to impervious surface and did not ignite a stormwater or drainage management report. So staff didn't take any further action on that. Screenings and bufferings, with the addition of a location for a dumpster and then also public right-of-way screening, making sure that the parking lots that abut all the public right-of-ways are screened from the public right-of-way. The applicant completed this with landscaping buffering and then additional buffering that will be added when the trash enclosure is added as well. At the time of creation of this staff report, there was no public comment or public comment given. A public hearing was also held on June 24th, 2026 with the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was no public comment given during that public hearing as well. Concluding into the recommendation, city staff, after reviewing all documentation submitted by the applicant and overall review of the goals and vision of the comprehensive plan and other city plans, reviewing came to the recommendation of recommending approval of the site plan for the proposed project at 964th Street, Walnut Creek Community Church, with one additional condition that went through Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended the same. So the final recommended motion would be to motion to approve 964th Street site plan for the proposed project, Walnut Creek Community Church redevelopment, with the conditions of approval laid out by city staff. The conditions that you'll see on this screen are general comments. The one outstanding condition that they have is making sure to meet the 5 required minimum ADA compliant parking spaces. They have 4 identified. The addition with the amount of parking that they have at the site requires 5. The issue of slope and trying to adjust for that is difficult, and they're going through deciding on how to handle that. That will need to be presented to city staff for our review, and then once that is complete, full approval would be given. If anyone has any questions, I am here to answer them.
So with the changes that they're making, they need to add 1 handicap spot. Okay.
Yeah. And they have difficulty, just the area that they have for original, adding one there, there's kind of a slope issue in the actual parking area. So they're trying to identify where they can add that additional handicap parking.
Okay. Knowing that we're dealing with the same thing at my church right now, I mean, as far as handicap, it's a prime, right? Like I'm surprised they only have 4 spots. Like, cause maybe it's just my congregation is older. I'm probably going to need one of those spots, but that's interesting to me that they only have 4 spots. But okay, all right, fair enough. Thank you. It'll be important for them to add that 5th. Maybe they need a 6th and 7th too.
And to Teresa's point, I will say, remind everyone that the ADA requirements are the bare minimum. So doesn't hurt to have more accessible places and spaces.
Questions?
I think she wants to.
Thank you.
You just say your name and your address and your.
Hi, Nikki Neal, 4121 Northwest Urbandale Drive, Civil Design Advantage. We're the civil engineers on the project. So we do have 5. We are adding 1 accessible space. Really, what's coming into play here is the slopes. So if we look at these parking lots today, nothing is actually accessible out there. So all the slopes are a little bit too steep. So what we're doing is we are moving those spaces and we're clustering them so they have the route directly onto an accessible sidewalk. So right now, today as they sit, they're not accessible. Yes, they're striped as such, but then you have to still cross a drive aisle. So we're taking those spaces, we're adding that 1. So we're taking the 4, moving them, adding the 1, and then pulling them directly off of that onto an accessible sidewalk route to the building, if that helps clarify. Yes, so you can kind of see up in this corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pulling them off to a sidewalk and then routing up and around, where today, anywhere they walk, they're crossing a drive aisle. So
Right. But
that's kind of to help clarify.
yeah, so they're gonna have to come, they're gonna have a lot further to travel. Is that what I'm seeing and hearing?
Correct. Yeah, they'll have further to travel, but then we're pulling them to an accessible route.
Right. I understand. We are, like I said, we're making some accommodations at our church lot right now to change the parking to make them more because they are further away.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest complaint we have is that they're too far, you've got folks who have to, that's a challenge for them to have to walk and go that far to be able to access handicap parking. So that's just a concern for me, and one that I hear frequently and regularly. And so we're moving them closer and doing the accommodations necessary to make them work at our facility. But anyways, you can share that feedback with them that that's a concern.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
To say the same thing as somebody
Yeah.
who at times it's not easy for me to walk. So going further, I would rather go across the street or go across the travel portion than add 20, 30, 40 more steps to my walking. So just something to think about as you're going through. I think some that, rely on the walkers and, canes and whatever, it's harder for them to go those extra steps than it is for somebody maybe in a wheelchair to be wheeled across, or,
Yeah.
So.
And I should clarify that we're talking to the main entrance. Yes, we understand accessibility is to that main entrance, but there is also an additional door that is being added right here as well. So there are some options technically to enter this addition at least as well. That's a little bit closer then.
All right, just looking out for
Yep.
So the
all
footprint
the
isn't
people.
expanding.
Okay.
All right, further discussion or questions? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5D, consideration of purchase of police department hybrid fleet vehicle.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Pete Roth, ROTH. I really wanted Trey to give my report, but he said he would not do it 2 times. So in your packet, you'll have our request to purchase a hybrid police vehicle. This is from Stivers Ford. It is a demo model. It has about 3,000 miles on it, so we'll get a little cheaper. The vehicle is available immediately. The purchase would add 1 Marked Patrol car to our fleet while replacing 1 older unmarked SUV through a trade-in, the Silver Explorer, and then selling that black unmarked Taurus out back through Gov Deals. The hybrid SUV, again, offers more improved patrol capabilities, lower fuel and operating costs, and environmental benefits. The proposed purchase, including the upfitting and equipment, is expected to remain within our ERP that we had approved last year through the budgetary process, through Personnel and Finance, through Public Safety Committee twice, and should save us about more than $14,000 savings of what we estimated the car would be a couple years ago. This also does not include the anticipated sale of the black Ford Taurus, so there'll be, again, some savings that will come down off that $71,000. Acquiring the vehicle from existing inventory also avoids the supply delays and increased costs experienced in recent years. I will say, if you look back, if you can turn to our inventory page, which has all of our vehicles listed, we currently have 10 vehicles. If this is approved, we will be going down to 9 vehicles. And about 56% of our fleet will be hybrid vehicles. And so we're really slowly trying to get down that way to be all hybrid, or still kind of trying to break into that EV for a patrol car. It hasn't been there yet, but we still look. And if you look at the actual, as you noticed by the Friday updates, Lieutenant Earlbeck was very successful getting us a grant from Prairie Meadows. That $8,000 to that in-car camera equipment should be covered by the grant. So we're looking at possibly around $63,000 total, as opposed of the 71 that we list there. So, and a new car for state bid is $45,700. So we are saving close to $7,000 by buying this car that is on the lot. It matches our existing squad cars and has some equipment already installed.
Can I ask how many miles? You said I was flipping through my 3,000.
It was just a demo. And if you get over 1,000 on those cars, that actually helps us break those in a little bit better.
I
So,
mean, it works for us as general
Yeah.
people purchasing vehicles. So
and
I
we still
just
get,
didn't hear what you said. So
and we still get the warranties are all listed there too. So, and Stivers Ford does have the state bid right now for Iowa.
thank you for shopping local also. I appreciate it.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Further
Hey,
discussion?
you were so quiet. You let me get a motion.
Based on this, so it looks like then that we won't need to do any car replacements for,
Bless you.
another 4 years-ish.
If I won't say it out loud, but we probably will not need one for several years. Yes, if the mileages all stay down.
I feel like we're buying a new one every year and
We do try to replace one a year to keep them so we don't go to 2. But next year, if the mileage holds and we don't have any major issues, then we should be good for next year, and then the year, maybe the year after too. So.
okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5E, consideration of tobacco license, Super Quick Mart, 7690 Hickman Road.
Move. Second.
Discussion? AJ?
We do have included in their staff report showing their violations and compliance checks over the last 12 months. As you may recall, they have been before the council just a bit over a year ago after serving a 30-day alcohol suspension of their license. And Adam does have a longer track record if anybody's interested in reviewing it again, showing compliance check failures over the last, I believe it's about 3 years, but there's not been a tobacco compliance check failure since their last license was issued.
Can I ask a question about the state declaring the application timely filed? Is it because it was before the cutoff, even though, I mean, it seems like there was maybe 2 weeks or something between when we had a council meeting and when July 1st or June 30th or whatever the date was. So that, I mean, that consisted to being, it seems like there should be a longer, like we should have a month or something like that you're preparing, because council doesn't meet all the time. And if you don't get it on, then it doesn't seem like it's on us to like hurry through or find a time that works for a council meeting. So I'm just, I know that you said something here about us talking to probably Aaron about what we can do, but it seems to me like this should be something that ahead of time every year, like, and you would do it a month in advance because this is your livelihood. I just,
The state's position, I'm sorry.
oh, no, go ahead. I was done.
The state's position was as long as it's submitted before that June 30 and there aren't any local ordinances that requires a submission in advance of that, they consider it to be timely filed.
Okay.
So I went out and looked, there are a couple of communities that require the submission to be 5 days prior to, or some time frame,
Right, yeah.
prior to the last meeting in June, sorry, it's July 30th, so the last meeting in June. And so we've talked about maybe adding some of that language so that they're forced then to submit in advance. We've got time to get it on the agenda, so the staff isn't scrambling, asking for special meetings.
And that's, I would really appreciate that as, I mean, as a business owner, that's something that you kind of need to put, and maybe this was the first time this happened. I don't know, but if it's happening once, then maybe we should start taking a look at it. Cause I don't think it's fair to staff either to kind of have to run through and figure out if we can make a council meeting and make it work for at least 3 people and include staff in that and whoever else needs to be included.
Agreed. We're looking at a revision.
Further discussion? I know we're talking tobacco, but going back to Pump and Pantry when they filed for their alcohol license, did we ask for their selling procedure or they just gave it to us? How did that come about?
Yes, I can speak towards that. So with Pump and Pantry, I did ask them for that since they were gonna be a new business in town. So I did proactively ask them for that for council's consideration since it was a new application and a new business in town.
Have we ever asked Super Quick Mart for theirs?
Not on tobacco, but they did attend a city council meeting and gave a verbal report of the policies and procedures that they were using to sell alcohol to patrons. And if, ad-libbing, he indicated some health issues that had occurred and he had refocused his attention, and Windsor Heights was his number one priority, is what he indicated, which does run a little contrary to forgetting to submit your tobacco license until the end of the month. But city code allows him to request a special meeting, so we gave him that option. But then the state rule gave him the authority to wait until this meeting, so it came on this one.
Is that something that we can look at adding to our ordinance, that we would like to see what their business, how they sell, or like what Pump and Pantry gave us? Or is that kind of extending too far into overextending our reach?
Yeah, I think we can certainly ask. I don't think we can require.
Okay.
So the state code is pretty clear that as long as they have a proper application and they don't have any tax delinquencies, that's like significant tax delinquencies, that we are to move forward with the approval. But I certainly think you can ask.
I would be, happy to have that added into the ordinance, even if they don't give it to us. It just kind of shows what type of business we're dealing with as well, with being able to read through.
I think it highlights our sense of importance on that too. I think even if other communities don't, if they're operating in several communities, if we're asking, can you explain how you're preventing sales to underage individuals? It shows that that's something that we're paying close attention to.
Since I'd probably be asking for them. I know we're talking about tobacco right now. Are you guys wanting this ask to extend to alcohol too, or focus on tobacco?
Might as well.
I think so, yeah.
Further discussion?
So their license did not lapse because it was submitted on time and we didn't have a chance to vote on it. So they technically have still been able to sell the last 2 weeks. Okay, thank you.
So I would just, again, you'll get my song and dance on this issue. I was at a Polk County Cancer Coalition Prevention and Risk Reduction meeting this last week. And, Polk County is doing an assessment right now of where all the tobacco retailers are located. And we have a really high density of tobacco retailers in our community. And where those are in relation. Adam did provide the information and we and sent that over to Polk County. But tobacco is use, it continues to be the number one, cause of death in our state and in our county. And so it's just like a real issue. And I think we are going to have to think about, what's more important at some juncture of, selling tobacco and killing people or, taking a stand. So.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
No.
5F, consideration of tobacco license, AWS is Mediterranean Market, 7213 Apple Valley Drive.
Second.
Discussion?
Ditto.
Since there's no,
Yeah.
I take it they have no violations. Is that
That's
what
their
that,
compliance check.
What was that on?
like nothing.
Oh, yeah, that was
Since-
so for the past calendar year, 12 months, they had no incidents. The only thing was compliance checks that they passed.
And prior to July 2025, do you recall? Have we had any?
I do not.
They
Anything before
They didn't,
25.
so when we get the list from iPledge, I log into a state of Iowa portal online. And they will. 1 year they're not listed, like they didn't do the license, I don't have the historical records on that. And then last year they were, so we checked it and they were compliant.
Would make sense why you can't go back any years.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
No.
5G, discussed subchapter 6013 bicycle and electric scooter regulations. AJ.
Yes, this topic went in front of the Public Safety Committee, got some feedback and made some minor revisions to the red line draft that is attached in the council packet. The underlying code is continued based off of the city of Ankeny's ordinance, which is in place. I'll just kind of go through the PowerPoint presentation here briefly and hit a few highlights. But the key variations that we're seeing between the communities, and Chief, you're welcome to pop in if I miss something as well, is some cities prohibiting certain types of devices on sidewalks, certain types of scooters or other battery powered devices. There's no such prohibition in our draft code presently. Specific use of devices within certain areas of parks. We do have some regulation proposed on that, some signage that would be added or existing signage that prohibits certain devices or speeds within the park, but that may be a subject council wants to dive into further. And then there's a general, there's variations on whether devices are allowed on roadways over 25 miles per hour. So the Hickman University Avenues portions of 73rd Street. We do have a prohibition of devices other than low-speed e-bicycles and regular bicycles proposed for those roads. Then enforcement, is going to be a challenge, and there's some different takes on that. And then there's some minor definitional differences between e-motos. We have chose the more conservative one, or what we believe to be the more conservative definition on the horsepower side of things with that. So next slide there just looks at some brief key definitions on devices. So e-motos, those are the items that you would need a license. Higher speed devices, electronic scooters, those are smaller type of devices with one or two wheels, shouldn't be going over more than 20 miles per hour. Low speed bicycle, which really has similar rights to from the state side as a bicycle. Motorized bicycles, those higher speed bicycles up to 39 miles per hour. Beyond that, you're really into a moped. And then other power-driven mobility device, OPMD, those are going to be devices used by individuals with mobility disabilities. And then an additional definition we've added through the course of conversation at public safety was pedestrian conveyance. So that would be any human-powered device excluding walking and bicycles. So stroller skaters, wheelchairs, skates, anything with a motor less than 750 watts. Those definitions are pretty important because a lot of this ordinance is built around those definitions. So looking at definitions then of riding areas, your roadway, that'd be the improved vehicle area. Typically you see a car on. Your street, there's the width of the right of way. Sidewalks would be paved or unpaved areas in the right of way or under city control, less than 8 feet in width. And then multi-use trail or bicycle path is the paved or unpaved portion separate from the street within the right of way or under city control, greater than 8 feet in width. So jumping to the next slide, then riding areas. So any device, as long as you're registered, if it comes to an e-moto, would be allowed on streets 25 miles per hour or less. And then the banning of any pedestrian conveyance item that's allowed under state law on streets 25 miles per hour or more. And sidewalks, multi-use trail and bicycle paths. So generally, those would be allowed other than your e-motos, which are prohibited, as long as they're following the following section here on responsible riding. And then with some variations within the park area. And then responsible riding, so bicycles, scooters, OPMDs, MDs need to be operated in a careful and prudent rate of speed under the conditions. So there's some judgment there on an officer that might be evaluating that. But generally, the trails and sidewalks have a maximum speed limit of 20 miles per hour or less, 25 miles per hour, unless otherwise posted, such as potentially like in a park area or someplace that council might have specific concerns about. This section also includes various prohibitions on improper riding, having 2 or 3 people on a bicycle not designed for that, things of that nature. And then requirement for electronic scooters, low-speed bicycles, and other devices to yield to pedestrians and bicycles. And there's general rule for vehicles to be yielding to these types of devices as well when crossing the street. So just to note then that bicycles and the low-speed electronic bicycles have some additional protections under state code. They may continue to utilize roadways, sidewalks, the trail in compliance with state law. They're not really the intent by and large of this regulation, other than they would be subject to that 20 miles per hour limit from a speed perspective. And they would continue to be required to follow all the traffic control devices and ride responsibly. There is no helmet requirement. That isn't something that we're seeing being implemented across the metro. From a city perspective, you can implement helmet requirements for minors, but not for adults. But trying to stay consistent around the metro, we haven't included that language in this draft ordinance. Enforcement, Chief, if you have any topics or you feel like you've beat that horse to death insofar as the challenges that this will probably present in actual enforcement based off of age and where the people are riding.
Pete Roth, ROTH, City of Windsor Heights. As we just kind of went over this with legal last week. Some of the cities are taking different approaches. Some of them are leaving it as a simple misdemeanor with you got to go to court. There's problem with the crime because there's a certain age where I can't enforce a law, and if it's a juvenile, it's got to go to juvenile court anyway. So I don't know if I can. There's some really weird things there for enforcement there. It does give us some teeth, though, if we can enforce, people riding in the park. We can tell people they can't do that. Again, we're going to try to educate and try to, hopefully talk with parents. But Norwalk just put theirs in, and I did not see what they were going to do with their penalty. I think Clive's is like just a schedule fine of $25, if I can remember correct, $25. And I don't know how they're doing that, but they did not want to go with municipal fraction or civil violation on that. They went again with the simple misdemeanor. So again, when we do simple misdemeanors and juvenile courts involved for anybody under the age of 18. So and again, for speeds without depending on how fast you're going, how much cross section you have, I can't radar you on a multi-use trail to see how fast you're going. So it's just in there for a marker there. So
And finally, I do have attached to the staff report, just a map of the park. Note that we do have our B-cycle station immediately north of the playground. The playground has a sign that does prohibit, riding on that playground area, which is that softer surface. Reviewed the splash pad sign, and I think we should probably add some language, prohibiting certain types of devices, within the splash pad area as well, although it becomes complicated. Do you really care if somebody's riding a bike there, I guess, off season? But, there could be some interest in adding some speed limits or additional designations within the park area. I think we've all been down there at times and seen people speeding along on various devices, but how to enforce that on a day-to-day basis will continue to be a challenge. So we think we've got most of the way there on the ordinance, but there are some areas that could be tweaked based off of council preference and still generally stay in line with what we're seeing across the metro. So welcome any feedback you have this evening. We can make some adjustments and bring it back for first reading and start communicating with residents on what the ordinance intents are planning to be.
So I have some concerns with this language. Overall, I think it's in good shape. I think we're about 75% of the way there. I don't know if you guys reference the MPO model language at all in this drafting.
Chief, you want to give some context on how the MPO conversations played out, I guess, and the integration with the chief's original model, or?
Again, several of the PLEXA, the Polk County Law Enforcement Executive Association chiefs attended some meetings with the MPO office and invited other stakeholders there. I was not present for those meetings. From that came out a draft that Chief McCluskey filtered out to all of us. Ankeny's ordinance, which was the first one to kind of start the domino effect to go, is basically that model language there. And
That's not the model language for the MPO.
for what the meetings that the chiefs met with the MPO office, I don't know if we were not involved in that one that maybe you're speaking of, but the one that Chief McCluskey put out was.
That's not the MPO
Okay.
model, so I can send it over to you.
Well, you sent me the.
At the MPO meeting, at the
Yeah.
MPO meeting, it was discussed and decided that we would not be able to come up with a broad regional policy on language. And so everyone was going to introduce the thing that they thought was tailored best for their communities. And then we knew there would be an iterative process and we would continue to tweak over time, because that did come up at that particular MPO meeting. And we had a pretty lengthy discussion about whether or not we could come to a universal conclusion, and that did not play out that way.
Yeah, I got something you sent me, like a 16-page document. There was a model law on the back of it, from the Bicycle
I
Coalition.
think I sent that over from People for Bikes, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's a national organization that was looking, I don't know if this one's 16 pages or not. Yep.
In the
okay.
back, there's the model ordinance, and I thought ours was actually pretty in line with that model ordinance.
And I would say it's close. And so I think some things that I would like to have us look at, is I think we need to, so full disclosure, I represent the Bicycle Coalition. I am a cyclist. Okay. I do ride in this community. And I talk to a lot of people that ride in this community and throughout the entire metro. So just full disclosure on that. I think it'll be really important for us because there are already conversations with lawmakers. This, much like property taxes was their number one issue to get done last year, this is their number one issue to get done coming into this next legislative session. So fully expect that the legislature will be taking this on. And so knowing that, how can we best prepare ourselves as we can for whatever the legislature might do, which we don't know what that looks like, but I can give you a clue because I'm working with them to do that. But having said that, I think that we need to think about maybe some more consistent terminology. I know that the idea here is that we're following Ankeny, and that was the first one out. But I see some holes and concerns with this language. And I think it's the terminology. I think we need to look more at the terminology. The other concern that I do have, and Adam, I'm glad you brought this up, is not allowing the pedestrian conveyance. So that's what killed, that actually was one of the main issues that killed the language up at the State House this last year. When you're not letting, you know, whether it's a wheelchair or a stroller or whatever, be on those roadways. Technically, so that's a problem. And so, because if that's your only way or only whatever, and banning them from being on those streets is a concern. We shouldn't encourage people to ride on those streets and all of those sorts of things, but we certainly shouldn't be banning them from being on there. So I do have a concern with that. This was it was a bill killer. So for your,
Yeah, we looked at that a little bit, and south of University on 73rd would be the most problematic area. That would be within that 35 that doesn't currently have a good alternative, and struggle with that because we don't, you know, it's equally dangerous for somebody to be going down a wheelchair, I think, on the road than in the grassy area that they may not be able to go through as well. So that is a challenging one. I'm not sure what the right resolution is from an ordinance perspective, or if there's some piece of state law that might not even allow us to enforce that piece of it in there as well. I couldn't quite decipher that when looking through, because it's a state definition,
correct. Yep.
the conveyance.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I'm familiar. So, so I think there's some things with that. So I would like us to consider some changes, some revisions to some of the language in here. Like I said, I feel like we're 75% there, and I would be very interested. Did Public Safety Committee looked at this? Did you guys looked at any adding any of the safety provisions that might be, or was just that not part of your conversation?
we looked at the responsible riding portion of this. Is that what you're referring to? Is there additional safety provisions?
Well, I'm thinking about, I mean, whether it's helmets, whether it's change lane to pass, whether it's dead right or dead red signal, bicycle lane protections, those sorts of things.
Yeah, those are some of the provisions that it looks like the Bicycle Coalition noted as items that they're interested in, but weren't included in their model ordinance. So those would be situations where you got a bicyclist on a road that can stop at a red light and then proceed either because of lack of traffic or because there may not be a weight sensor, kind of those older style ones, or treat a stop sign as a yield sign. And I think there'd be some public safety concerns on those aspects from including in the ordinance, but we did look at that and take a look internally at a staff level, although they were not discussed at the Public Safety Committee.
So you said you guys looked at them as staff, but it wasn't at committee. You guys didn't discuss
We
them.
didn't discuss
Okay.
those coalition
Our
ideas.
conversation was a little bit more around the definition around the E-motos, why the enforcement challenges that we expect. And I think the overarching of what we're trying to accomplish with the problem of young kids on too fast of vehicles was most of the conversation, less on what you're describing. I'd be interested in us, again, totally acknowledging that enforcement would be challenging, but requiring helmets for kids. It's a lot easier for me to convince my 7, almost 8-year-old to do something when I say it's the law. But also thinking about our first responders that are going to have to show up when there's an accident and what they're going to encounter.
We considered the safety equipment, but our cities next to us don't have it in there. So you cross the street from Clive, then you got to put, I mean, I know that the council does what you need to do on that, but our goal from the staff side of it was to present something to you that was, again, what's going on around us. Urbandale took our draft and Clyde's draft, and they're doing something with that here shortly as well. I don't know if they've introduced it or not, but they're going to do something similar to us. The reason why we chose Ankeny is their numbering system was closest to ours. Waukee has skateboards and scooters and skates in their ordinance. We just kind of combine it all in one. Clive has a unique way of laying theirs out. I think they kind of group everything under a weird term. And so we just focused on the draft ordinance that the council saw at the Public Safety Committee the week before, whatever that was before that. So, but the safety equipment, as it would be a challenge. You know, we do stop a lot of children that don't have the means, or, you know, it's just, again, it's something just to think about, so.
Well, the good news is State Farm gives bicycle helmets out for free, so Matt Kay will be happy and ready to make sure you guys are fully staffed with helmets. The other thing is so, I know that you guys in this were using, just, pedestrian, or excuse me, not pedestrian, that's not what I wanted to say. Yeah, pedestrian conveyance, and I think we need to differentiate between like pedestrian conveyance and high-speed pedestrian conveyance. Because I think that that's gonna be a critical, differentiation for, you know, are we talking about the motorbikes that are, you know, over the 750 motor speed, whatever that is. And then I also think we need to make sure that we include, and I don't think it's in here, but all the definitions of electric bikes, the e-bikes. I think you just have low speed in here. So anyways, there's just some work to do. Good start.
I would also like to see the helmet in. I realize that it's hard if Clive isn't doing it, but that doesn't mean that we can't say here, we would like people to protect their noggins, you know. It doesn't mean that, you know, we're out there to enforce it, but like Lauren said, sometimes it's easier to get your kid to listen if you say, it's right here, this is what it says, and, you know, we want to follow by the rules, so you're going to put your helmet on, or you're not going to ride your bike, you know. And I don't think that we're out to have the police just stop every single minor that doesn't have a helmet on, but it could also be an educational opportunity for the police to get involved and say, hey, you know, we would love to get you a helmet. How about, and then the police look like great people and we're helping protect, you know, the minds of minors.
I fully agree. I was originally going to propose it as well. But even today, Lieutenant Norris and I were having a conversation with a resident about if there's an ordinance, you got to enforce it. You got to enforce it equally. It only takes some weird incident where suddenly they have to enforce a helmet on a kid, and then they're stuck trying to navigate when to enforce it and when not to enforce it. So I struggle with it from that aspect just because we are a small part of the larger community, but I wholly agree that that's something I would like to see across the metro enforced. But
so, I mean, when you talk enforcement, that doesn't mean that they have to write a ticket. That just means that, you know, they could use whatever means they would like as far as coaching and counseling, or, you know, explaining. So it doesn't mean like, because they ran into a situation, they have to write either the parent or the minor a ticket. They could use whatever to justify. I mean, don't they have kind of some discretion with that? I mean, kind of like speeding, you can get a warning for going 6 miles over if they so desire, you know?
You might see the same 15-year-old going around Colby Park after being coached 10 times.
Then maybe that's
when yeah,
you kick in and say, well, we would really like to protect your head.
I know language needs to be enforceable and either vague or not vague, but can we put in our code or our ordinance that it's highly encouraged? I don't know if that's kind of a dumb question, but
It's either required or it isn't.
can that be put on our public signage? Hey, you don't have to wear it, but the city highly recommends that you wear one.
Maybe phrase it different than that.
Okay.
some clever science, perhaps.
I'm out of that game short term.
All right, so what's the future of this ordinance look like?
If you'd like, we'd be happy to work on a few of these items and circulate it with a couple of council members that might have interest or more expertise in this, and bring it back for additional discussion before first reading.
That's great.
Anybody else like to see a draft of it before we bring it back? Provide some comments.
Why don't you send it out to everybody?
Okay.
There's always the concern that we pass an ordinance that no one else has wanted to pass. There's always that. So just for consideration. Right?
Yep.
So. All right, 6A. Reports. MAC is tomorrow. MPO is on Thursday. We met with Google Fiber today. And I'll try to tour the DART facility on Friday. Ms. Harms.
You already said MAC is tomorrow. I already reported the Cancer Coalition met. We're going to meet monthly through the end of December. And then we will then a cancer report plan will be issued in January. At that point in time, that's when they'll start kind of coming to all the city councils, if you will, and then outlining what our option, I don't want to say what our options, what we can be doing, whether within our own communities, whether it's programming, education, passing ordinance, policy changes within our own local government structure. So lots of recommendations. I'm sure a lot of them will be policy focused. So more to come on that. Just know it's happening, and lots of good work is happening in that space right now. And then the Windsor Wonderland planning meeting on Wednesday. So lots of good stuff underway there. Been doing a lot of research on our benefits ad hoc committee. So we meet in another week, I think. And then Nights in the Heights was jamming last Tuesday night. So it was good to be able to get out there. So that's all I got.
Campbell.
Attended the Ice Cream Social. Thank you, Joseph and Andrea, for hosting on 63rd and the first 2 nights of Nights in the Heights hosted by the foundation. It was very nice, although quite warm out. Walked the 4th of July parade with Susan, Joseph, Mike, Jason from Public Works, and Adam Straight with assist from Adam Plaguey with the Bounce House. I think it was a hit, kind of went by in a blur. It was a little warm, but the main selling points from my perspective were come to our parade. It'll be 20 degrees cooler, hopefully, and our fireworks start 2 hours earlier. So July 22nd is the next benefits ad hoc committee meeting. Public Safety Night Out is coming up on July 28th down at Colby Park. Speaking of helmets, perhaps State Farm will be there handing out helmets again this year, maybe. Matt Kale be handing out helmets again this year at Public Safety Night Out?
Some left over from our last event.
Gotcha.
The helmets we had out last year were not, what I know, didn't come from State Farm.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think through Mike and the kids, it's the same coalition.
Gotcha.
Just different partner. But I have not talked to Matt Kale for some time, and I think that my time reach out to him, so actually.
Perfect. And then Fall Fest WHAM sign up is open. We already have some people signed up. Excited to run a 5K in the fall. That's it.
Great.
Attended the Chamber Celebration Business dinner. So congrats to Dinner Dispatch on winning Windsor Heights Business of the Year. That night I also graduated from the Chamber's leadership program. Windsor Heights Citizen of the Year voting should be opening soon. Helped out with the foundation at Colby Park for the Ice Cream Social. It was a great event. Hosted or served maybe 15 people and all the ice cream melted, but it was still a good time. Attended the Wind Down in Windsor Heights networking event at Premium Solutions, and I'll also be at the DART tour on Friday.
Speaking of DART, we had a workshop the end of June to talk about phase 2 for the operation and maintenance facility that you guys will see at the end of the week. We've gotten ourselves to a good spot where the phase 1 came in on time and under budget. And now as we think about what phase 2 and phase 3 would be, the staff has actually come up with a great phase 2 plan that will not require us to have a phase 3. And so the executive committee met and discussed it, made a recommendation for the larger of the 3 options. And when the commission met last week, we approved it. So we'll go forward with that. And I'm sure they'll talk about that when you get on your tour. The Reimagine implementation is going well. So we're We had our last meeting that was 3 weeks into it. Now we're at a month into it. So a lot of citizens came and talked about their experience on the new routes. The staff is going to spend some time evaluating kind of the timing and other metrics as they get underway a little bit more fully and understanding what ridership looks like. And then we also talked about the state fair. DART will still be providing service to the fair from the Capitol and from Center Street. And then a private contractor will be providing rides from South Ridge Mall to the fairgrounds. So no more Southeast Polk as a site. So if you know of anyone who would rely on that, let them know that there will show up and there will be no buses there. But I would recommend that folks coming from our neck of the woods go to Center Street. It's a little less busy. They're trying to grow that ridership from there, but you should be able to more easily park there and then get on the bus and go to the fairgrounds and get into the Capitol.
And your car is parked in the shade of a parking garage versus.
So Center Street, I've never been on Center Street. It's the Center Street is the parking.
It's a parking garage, yeah. And
Or
then,
parking,
yeah,
yeah.
and you'll see the DART kind of station and there's a ticket booth and you can kind of drive through and you'll see the buses all lined up, but it's at Center and 7th, between 7th and 6th, I think is right. That's it.
Carries.
June, I attended the Catch Des Moines meeting. We didn't receive the news we were hoping for regarding our bid to host NCAA men's basketball opening rounds in 27 and 28. But I think it's important we recognize what an accomplishment it was to just be named a finalist in that. The selection ultimately went to Wichita because of its proximity to Dayton, Ohio, but our community put together an outstanding bid. While this opportunity didn't work out, we're still scheduled to host the NCAA men's basketball first and second rounds in 2028. And I know our region will continue pursuing some future NCAA events. There are some good events coming up and look forward to those. First Wednesday of July, I attended Metro Waste Authority work session. Then thank you to everyone who came out and volunteered with the Urbandale's 4th of July parade, Joseph, Andrea, Jason, Adam, Straight, Lauren, Andrew, and Mike for serving on Candy Patrol and helping make the event a success, even if we were kind of a little warm. Special thanks to Lauren for coordinating the float and pulling everything together. She came up with the great concept of using the blow up house. Bounce house. And I happily contributed adding 4th of July decorations. So I did a lot of hard work there. Wednesday, be volunteering with Women in Government at the Food Bank of Iowa before attending this month's Metro Waste Authority meeting. On Friday, we'll hold our Special Events Committee meeting, and I'm hoping to make it to the DART afternoon event. Then just want to remind everyone that our next community movie night will be I think it's August 7th, Friday, August 7th, featuring the Lego Movie. Still looking for volunteers to help serve popcorn, drinks, cookies, and pizza. So if you're interested in helping, we'd love to have you join us. And then I know, Adam, you won't be here, but if you could just let me know who from the city will be. You will be. Oh. You got the short end of the straw, sorry. And that's it.
So is there a direct flight from Wichita to Dayton?
That they didn't say. I was surprised because I'm like, I'm geographically challenged, but for some reason it seems like we're in. Yes. So I was confused by how this all worked, but I thought somebody smarter than me figured this out. And so I'm just going with what was said. But I agree. I did contemplate how that worked. And if I didn't know my maps well, it was possible.
Nothing for me. There's several reports included at the end. Yeah, of course, the big one is we're not successful in our 2026 build grants, but we did get highest consolation prize, I guess, rating. Kudos to all the other departments for their work on the recent other county grants that we've received across all departments. So appreciate everybody's efforts on that. We'll take our feedback session and report back to council with some suggestions for how we want to proceed in the next couple of months.
Move through into work session. Motion to adjourn to.
Oh, second or first.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Jason Harden.
Yes.
Monday, July 13th, work session, Windsor Heights City Council, roll call.
Susan Spears.
Here.
Joseph Jones. Here. Fletcher Berry.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa
Here.
Harms.
Here.
Item 2, Polk County Housing Trust Fund discussion.
So.
I know.
Well, thank you for having us. My name is Toby O'Berry. I'm the Executive Director of the Polk County Housing Trust Fund. And we're gonna just walk through a little bit about the dashboard that we've just created. It's a regional dashboard for all cities in Polk County, utilizing data both federally as well local, that we're able to kind of paint a picture of each community specific around housing. As well as opportunities for the whole region as a whole to kind of come together and look at a holistic goal over the next 5 years to track ways that we can grow affordable housing in our region. And so my colleague Johnny is going to kind of walk through the dashboard. We're happy to answer questions throughout the event, interrupt, ask different questions. Really want this to be kind of a conversation where we show this to you guys, and then it's really a tool for elected officials to utilize when you're making policy and decisions in your community. We want this to be a resource where you're able to use it and look at it as you guys come up with consensus on what you want to do in your community. So I'll turn it over to Johnny.
Thanks, Toby. I don't know if this is on. Maybe you can hear me. Hopefully. Mayor, City Council.
Online, it's not for us, so
Yes.
you have to really talk.
Thank you
into it.
thank you for having us today. As Toby mentioned, we're going to be sharing the dashboard that we have recently released this past spring, and we're still doing the rounds with the local cities to make sure that they're aware of this resource, as well as a conversation starter. And again, we are trying to improve it as well. So this is not a one and done dashboard, but we'll continue to add additional information to the dashboard as we obtain that data. So the reason why I wanted to keep it on this landing page is because you will see that there are a few summarized bullet points as you go through, which I'm not going to read, but I just want you to know ahead of time that there is a little bit of information on the web page itself before you actually get to the dashboard. At the same time, there is the option to just go straight to the dashboard, which is the one that we're going to click on today, because I will be walking you through most of this. We've made it as simple as possible to reach the dashboard, hopefully for everyone that's interested in using it, by looking at our website, which is pchtf.org/dashboard. That's how you, if you were to look for this, if you have to go through our website, you can, or if not, you can just add the /dashboard at the end. Well, as Toby mentioned, a lot of the information that's being pulled into the dashboard comes from census data, HUD data, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and from one of our databases when it comes to federally backed projects, which is the centerpiece of the dashboard, which I will get to in a couple of slides here, or pages. When you open up the data, the dashboard itself, it automatically goes to the Polk County location, because we are the Polk County Housing Trust Fund. But as you will see the map, it includes more than just Polk County. And the reason for that is because we have a partnership with Capital Crossroads. And through that partnership, we cover Warren County and Dallas County in some of our initiatives, not all of our initiatives. This is one of those initiatives. So when you first get to this landing page, you immediately get drawn to this map. This map is currently showing units under production within the region. These units specifically include those that have received federal tax credits, so low-income housing tax credits, or others that we're aware of, for example, like HUD multifamily programs, which at this time they're not included, but I'm just providing some examples of potential projects that may be included in this map. That said, as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we would like this dashboard to become a more comprehensive picture of affordability for the region. So the more information that we're able to obtain from local cities or local incentives that are being provided or different resources that are being offered to developers for more affordable housing, we can definitely add those points to this map. Additionally, when you land on this page, you will see that one of the main charts talks about the cost burden households. And those are, by definition, households that are paying more than 30% of their gross income on rent and utilities. That chart is down here below the map. And you can see that there's as your income is not as much as on the lower end, you're more likely to be cost burden. And this is something that we see throughout the community. When you get to this page as well, you're able to narrow it down per community. So you have a bunch of communities listed here, and we can obviously go to the community that we're in. And you can look at more specifics for your community. And this is, as Toby mentioned, this is what we want to be able to showcase to you all as elected officials, as well as to staff. So hopefully this can drive some conversations in the future as your planning processes come about or any projects that come around. You will also see that there's an affordable unit goal. This is something that we as the trust fund have come up with. We use the MPO Mobilizing Tomorrow long-range plan in order to come up with this goal. So they have a projection for all of our communities as far as household growth for the next 5 years until 2030, more like 3.5 years now. But we used that projection and we decided to considering all things equal, place a 10% goal for all of our region. Not necessarily as something that we're going to hold everybody to the fire, but as a conversation starter. We want to talk to communities. We want to see if this is something that's feasible. We want to work with communities as well because we ourselves offer programs that provide incentives for affordable housing. So obviously for Windsor Heights being landlocked, that growth is not as much as other communities are expecting, but currently using those projections, you're looking at 24, 25 households being projected over the next few years. So using that 10%, like I said, all things being equal, the affordable unit goal would be 2 units.
So when you say that, would that mean, so let's just pick like an apartment complex. Would that be that 2 of those places in that apartment complex are more geared towards the, affordable unit goal? Or would that be 2 houses or 2, like what does the 2 really mean?
That is an excellent question. And for us, it's any program that the city of Windsor Heights has in order to provide those affordable options, whether it's a homeowner, first-time homeowner that you're providing at a certain percentage of the median family income, or if it's a project with a bunch of units and you are asking them to provide X number of affordable units for those rental units.
Thank you.
Once we go to the next page, we only have 4 pages right now, so this is not going to be very extensive, but we want to make sure that there's an understanding of what that information looks like when it comes to housing for homeowners, housing for renters, and it breaks the data down a little bit further. So as you can see, renters are more likely to be cost burden, This is something that applies to Polk County, this is something that applies to the country, this is something that applies to most of our cities as well. Overall, across the United States right now, it's more than 50% of renters are cost burden. So we've reached that threshold that every community is going to be affected by cost burden households. And this is not news to anyone. The housing crisis, we just had a major federal policy bill passed. It has become the law as part of this last weekend. And hopefully we will start to see some strides when it comes to reducing the number of cost burden households across the country. But I am going way off a base here. So I'm coming back to the dashboard now. And just to showcase what the characteristics for Windsor Heights look like, I have pulled the drop-down menu and selected Windsor Heights. And you can see the breakdown when it comes to homeowners and renters. Community that's almost 80% homeowners, 20% renters. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to this data is, since we're using the census, it's a little delayed. And right now, we picture this being updated every year with the new release of census data. This data currently covers 2024. So you can see that there's a little delay there when it comes to the data that we're able to pull. However, if you look at the right top corner, this is data that's being provided to us by the CBRE Des Moines office, and that presents a more recent picture of what the rental market looks like in the region and in your city. Also, if you were to play around with the dashboard itself, you will see that if you hover over some of these information graphs, bars, you see additional information that comes out as well. So when you look at a percentage, for example, you are able to see the number of units it's actually being included within those calculations. And lastly, another item that we included in this specific page was the median home value and the median rent for communities as well. Hopefully that's not a timer for me.
We have the highest rents.
You can tell them why.
Right now, well, as of 2024,
Yeah.
yes, I think you had some units that came online at that time, brand new units with a big project.
Couple of divergences, I think, for Windsor Heights were unusual because we're an older community with fewer large complexes. And as Toby and I talked about, it's only 25 units and more complexes that
Yes.
we include. So we actually have, that only represents that 167 units, about a third of our rental housing population.
Yep.
It wouldn't capture the single family or the duplexes at all. So
Oh, okay.
it's a consistent data point across the metro, but it isn't necessarily all inclusive, I guess, is kind of.
Thank you. That is correct. The CBRE data includes projects with 25 units or more.
Ah,
That's that place. So in your market, that's what the asking rate was at that time.
okay. Well, I'll tell you, it's consistent with a 3-bedroom ranch
For 25 unit project. That's what you're asking.
that we rent. So, okay.
All right. If we go to page 3, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this is the centerpiece of our dashboard. We had released a project last fall regarding the preservation of affordable housing units in the region. Another initiative that we collaborated with Capital Crossroads, which is why you see more than Polk County on that map. But this includes federally backed projects that have income restrictions. Those include low-income housing tax credits, HUD multifamily, USDA rural development, and public housing. This is the number of projects that we came up with, as well as the number of units by combining databases from HUD, from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, from USDA, and from the local public housing authority, which is the city of Des Moines. And you can select any of the cities that are within this region and look at the different federally backed housing projects that are located within that entity, within that jurisdiction. At this time, as you probably all know, there isn't one in your city, but it doesn't mean that in the future there couldn't be one that came around. Once projects are built, so this is how the first page and the third page are connected. Once these units that you saw earlier are actually constructed and come online, those units then go into, right now, the way that everything is set up, because they're federally backed or a federal source of funding incentive, then those units go to this page. They become existing instead of in production. We are currently debating or having conversations, internal conversations, as to the next iteration of the dashboard, which will be spring of 2027, and how we're going to showcase local data by creating its own page. So instead of 4, we're going to have 5 to include some of those local programs, incentives that are provided for affordable housing within the region as well. That may also include its own map, but to be determined. And lastly, this is the fourth page of the report of the dashboard. If you hear me calling a report, is because the Power BI, Microsoft Power BI calls these reports. So right now we have 4 reports. We'll probably have more in the future, but you call it page, slide, reports. The last one is the CHAS data, also known as the Comprehensive Housing Affordable Strategy data. These are custom tabulations that are provided by HUD based on census data, based on that yearly American Community Survey, if you're familiar with the census and how it works. These tabulations take a closer look at lower income households and lower income populations. So they focus on that rental housing characteristics. And you can see, if we were to take a closer look at the number of units that are available within Polk County, this breaks it down into how many units are available per income category, or based on the different thresholds of, in this case, if I can read that correctly from here, it's 30 to 50 AMI. It's like less than 30% AMI, 50 to 80, and then anything over 80. And that breakdown, it's pretty similar across these 3 charts, because these 3 are coming directly from that data. Now, if we were to take a closer look at the city of Windsor Heights here, you will see that the tabulations are smaller, obviously, because it's a smaller community, and they may not reflect exactly what is within the city, but they provide a good idea of what's here locally. So right now, what the data is telling us, it's that most of the most of the lower income units are focused on that 30% to 80% AMI. This, just so you know, obviously it talks about the naturally occurring affordable housing that's within the city, within the region, if you were to look at Polk County or any other cities. Now, one of the tables that we have here, this one breaks it down a little bit further into bedroom sizes, something that we have noticed, and we know this through the precedent that has been established by the federally affordable housing projects, is that there's a lack of 3 bedrooms. It's typically concentrated, affordable housing that's restricted is typically concentrated within 1 and 2 bedrooms. So 3 bedrooms, this is not a surprising across the region, not just obviously here, but it's going to be lower when it comes to 3 or more bedrooms. But one of the charts that we really like to focus on is the one on the lower right corner, which talks about the rental unit affordability versus the occupant income level. So you will see a different, hopefully you can all see this, but they have we have 3 colors, a red color, a green color, and a blue color. The red color, it signifies that there's a housing unit within the number of housing units there are being occupied by households that are paying more than what they can afford. The green show the households that are approximately matching that rent that they can afford. So that's the balance. And then the blue are showing the houses that are paying a lower rent that they can afford. So for example, if we were to look at according to the tabulations, again, these are not perfect. We have Windsor Heights has 10 units that are available for populations with 30% of AMI or less. And those 10 units are being occupied by households that are within 50 to 80% of AMI. This is what the data tells you. Another way to look at this is if you look at the total households on the right, and then you look at the total units on the bottom, it's telling us that there are 35 households within that are 30% of AMI or less, and there are 10 units available for those households. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the data for these for the CHAZ data is also outdated. Not outdated. We're using the most recent, but that one is a little delayed as well. But it's a really good way of being able to see what's happening in the market, what has been happening, and what kind of interventions are taking place at the local level to make sure that more units are available to more of the populations with the lower incomes. Lastly, another question that we got a lot is what is the median family income for the county? So we're going to put that information in there as well, which will be updated on a yearly basis. And this is the latest update for the current year. And for example, we have a family of four. If you were to look at the 60% AMI or MFI in this case, which is interchangeable, AMI is the area median income, and MFI is median family income. But for this specific chart, it comes from HUD. It uses the MFI. A family of four at 60%, we're looking at income of $69,000 per year or below $70,000. For a household of one, for example, at 80% AMI, we're looking at $65,000 per year. That is most of what I have for you today. The one thing that I just wanted to end on is this, as I mentioned earlier, this is a new tool. Right now it's providing a, sorry, you told me that the scroller didn't work and I keep using it. Right now it's providing not a complete picture of affordability in the region because we're basing it on a lot of those federal incentives and federal programs. But what our goal is to make this more comprehensive and include information from our local communities, from the county, and make sure that we provide a better picture of what's currently out there. And continue to improve this. Like as I mentioned, it's not going to be a one and done project. So we welcome any feedback, any questions, any ways that you can see that this could be made into a better product. We're more than happy to hear your ideas. And the next iteration, like I said, will be likely in the spring of 2027. With that, any questions that you have?
On the chart on the bottom right, that does truly show, I mean, islands were very frugal. We want the cheapest rent. And if you don't have affordability protections in place for those specific units, then the individuals that actually need that unit, if the unit's not available. And that's where the affordability protections come into play. Johnny had mentioned one local funding in one round that we do. It's called our capital renovation of existing rentals, where if you have, and that's where we would turn to city staff or turn to community members. If you have, a lot of times there's naturally occurring affordable housing You want that to stay affordable, and if you have maybe a 15 unit or a 20-plex, or even a duplex that we just funded that needed a roof. And then we locked in for 15 years an affordability for those 2 units. That there are ways to secure affordability in your community, where if we use local funding like our preservation and renovation funding round, that could be something where the existing multifamily that you have in Windsor Heights, we could potentially lock in that affordability. And then you have to do income verification for all new tenants that access those units, so that then they are preserved and the rules of that income level that need that. So just one thing that one thing that we could partner with or look at exploring are ways of identifying multifamily projects in your community that maybe need a little work, or maybe parking lot or roof, or some of those elements that we could step in and help fund that to lock in the affordability in your community. So.
And how does one participate in that program? Is it the applicant, or is there action from the city needed other than marketing that and promoting it, or?
The applicant. So we have our housing allocation plan where we have all of our rounds of funding. We publish annually on our website, shows the dates. And anyone can apply if they qualify through our software platform. It's called Neighborly. And then we have our development committee and our board will vote and select, but any developer or property owner could apply. We just had a woman who just had a duplex and she needed a roof. And she had two units that were naturally affordable. She was very senior, and you're worried that if she, God forbid, isn't around and it's sold and the heirs transfer that, those 2 units become market rate units, and those 30% AMI units go away. And that happens in established communities like yours. And that could be something, and we understand the struggles of not having green space or building large projects, but I think the preservation part is one element that we could look at partnering with your community. We need a way to advertise and promote to local landlords and everything.
Interesting. And could you comment on the Metro Home Loan Improvement Program? We're participants in that. I think every biannually it's funded partially out of the Housing Trust.
I'm sorry, can you?
The Metro Home Loan Improvement Program?
Yes. Yep. So our agency funds that. And MIPA administers that for the communities. And so I think that's that owner occupied repair is a important element. If you have a lot of seniors who very fixed income, that's why you're seeing some cost burden for homeowner, where if you have a citizen who's been in that home for a long time and has a very low income, the repairs are kind of cost prohibitive. But that also could be an opportunity if you do have a site where you build a senior specific low income housing project, you could free up some of those houses where those seniors could go into those apartments and have a smaller, more manageable space, and free up their homes for new homeowners to come into your community. So there are challenges. Our agency is here to help and be an assistance and to be a resource when you have specific projects or land or parcels or things that you're kicking around, that we're happy to be a sounding board and help answer questions on what that could look like.
Well, I just want to say, I saw this at MAC and I said, Mike and I chatted and I said, we need everybody to see this. So thank you for being here this evening to show this. So I continue to learn more. I'm very fascinated, not only as a landlord, but also we have a lot of seniors in this community who are living in 5-bedroom homes by them, one person. And we see the homes deteriorate and those sorts of things, which are of big concern. So I know that that's something I've talked about since I've been on council, is, the opportunity to have more housing options available for seniors. And that's something we've been able to grow in our community, but it's more than that sometimes, right? There's a comfort with them wanting to leave, but this home that they raise their families in and that sort of thing. And one tells me every day, I'm not moving, and I never even asked because I know the answer.
The nice thing is if you build it in your community, they get to stay in that community in a brand new product.
Exactly.
But it is a challenge to overcome individuals leaving a home that they're in love with.
So if you had recommendations for us today, I mean, I heard you there, a few little things here, like, we do have a lot of landlords, I think, as well. When the Windsor was built, that was I mean, I had people reach out and say, hey, I've got a son who is low income. How do how can we access that? We had those conversations. But just like partnership opportunities for the landlords, advertising that. I know, we've continued to keep the Metro Home Loan Program a priority within our community. But are there any policy changes? Is there anything that we should be, communicating to our landlords? Is there, anything that you guys have that you think this would be, if we could uptake that, or anything we should change in our ordinance language? I mean, all of those things, I think we'd be open to your recommendations.
I think what Johnny had touched on a little bit, the federal bill that just passed on Friday, one of the components is having HUD come up with best practices for cities to utilize to promote and to create more supply, and what could be some of those current barriers and what are best practices. I think that it's going to take a little lead time for processing through all of that, but I think the best way is looking at consistency. It's very challenging for developers if they don't know, and if each city is a little bit different with how they operate or what their code is. It is a challenge, and so the more that we can be consistent as a region, I think that is helpful. Even looking at what are your building permit fees? We did a quick analysis of cities across Polk County, and it varies widely. And can you have a standardized fee specific for projects that do affordable housing as an incentive? That takes regional collaboration. I think that's our biggest strength, but it's a challenging thing. And for our agency, we're never going to come in front of a city and tell you what you need to do. Our job is to come up with like ideas and thoughts, and then see what policymakers, what works best for your community. That's really what we're looking to try to do. And I think some of what just got passed, HUD will be coming out with some of those best practices. I think that then we convene multiple groups together and have conversation of what does this look like? So it isn't just you on an island kind of coming up with this on your own, when it is very challenging with a zoning code specific. So, but there are lots of ideas. We always get excited about a lot of different ones. But I think it really is looking at, we do have a couple of other reports that would touch on that.
And we have some ideas in here as well. Right now, it's very hard to tell with everything that's going on at the state level. I'm sure you're having to figure that out. But some of the prior tools were, like economic incentives, like tax abatement, like TIF. So that's right now it's up there, but we may have to remove it because of all of the tax legislation that's taking place. But obviously, there are opportunities, as Toby mentioned, with different code amendments or simplifying things across the region, or making sure that there's additional incentives, not just economic incentives for the inclusion of affordable units.
Well, I would tell you, not only as a lobbyist in my daytime job, but, being here as a policymaker, I would appreciate if you would come with recommendations on how we can, what are the things, because I really consider you folks as the experts in this space. I don't think any of us here are housing experts. Joseph might be the closest we have as being involved. And I'm just the mean, dirty landlord. So, so I think that would be helpful, but I actually am a good landlord. I've had people in my houses for a long, long time, make it very affordable. But, so I just say that, so maybe think about that as, that's not our job, but you guys really are the experts, and we need you are the experts who we're going to look to help us, know how and what we can and should be doing to make housing more affordable in our communities. So I challenge you to think about that.
We're happy to do that.
Thank you.
I think the other element with the dashboard that we wanted to touch on is we are the first region to do a dashboard. If you look across the US, a lot of affordable housing dashboards are coming out. Salt Lake City, Memphis have good dashboards, all one city and city specific. And so our challenge was we want to do a regional dashboard. Two, we want buy-in where we have a consistent goal for everyone. So we're all in this together. And I think that's where using the MPO data of population growth, coming up with a 10%. As Johnny mentioned, this is a starting point. After that time period, we can reassess what's a good percentage, what progress were we making in different communities. But as you know, real estate development is a long process. It's slow. And so the expectation isn't every community is going to exceed the goal. But what we're trying to do, like Johnny mentioned, is just start this conversation. We've never had a regional goal for affordable housing. And so this is the first one. And so it's important to have one. It's important that every city is consistent and we're all in this together and we have the same metrics and we're going to see what that looks like. But it also is something that ebbs and flows and it is something that we will be mindful of. And the best way we can work with cities is provide us any information that can help us make this better. And that's kind of what this is going around and presenting that and then seeing what we can do in these iterations as we continue to improve this. We also were trying to make something that is easy for everyone to use. It doesn't look like a PhD research project as you see. We're trying to make this something that a layperson and any individual can just look at this as a resource to be able to use. And so we're very excited for this dashboard and to continue to use it, but it is very early on and we welcome feedback.
And I would also be remiss if I didn't have a shameless plug for another of our projects and hopefully maybe another invite to talk about this one in the future. Housing Sites of Opportunity, it's another project that we just released this past, was it May? May. Which talks a little bit more about some of the typologies that we found across the region. Land typology, so land patterns that could be suitable for potential development of housing. One of the things that we heard from a lot of developers is obviously, as you all know, the cost of land, inflation, construction, everything's going up. So we took a look at potential ways of incentivizing housing development and not your greenfield or your vacant lots. Well, actually, we did include vacant, so scratch that. But vacant land that's owned by cities, faith-based communities that may be wanting to develop housing, reusing of office, commercial buildings. So if you were inclined to take a look at this project and you would like us to come back and present on this, we would be more than happy to. It provides some additional recommendations at the end of the report as to how to make more missing middle housing product available in communities. But that would be a presentation for next.
I think that's a big piece. The faith-based community is one where they have a lot of infill land and they have the mission driven. They might not have the expertise on how to do it. We'll be doing a convening in the fall for the faith-based community to learn more with developers on what that could look like. It typically takes a lot longer. There's not a lot of consensus and it's hard to get that going, but they have vacant land or parking lots that you could potentially put just 5 or 6 townhomes on that. It could be 80% AMI market rate, a mixture, but they have land that is underutilized. And so I think that's what this research project was, where there is underutilized land in each city across Polk County that could be utilized. We were very careful to not call out specific sites. And so it's very broad, or you'll see a table of here's the number, because we do not want to tell, just like we don't want to tell you what to do. We don't want to tell a private landowner what they should do with their piece of land. But we're showing opportunities of missing middle housing and what that could look like. And then you might get 1 or 2 that are interested in learning more about it. And so you won't see addresses. You might see a table where it has some numbers or a map, but we are very cognizant of not calling out specific sites, but calling typology of showing those sites that you as community members would know or recognize, maybe ones that are already in your community without us calling it out.
I was just about to ask if Christ the Kings, because they on Southwest 9th have, I think, successfully done something similar. And then I just looked at the dashboard / report and saw that it's listed on there as elderly disabled. So neat.
Well, you can take the Windsor, not necessarily an affordable factor, but aerospace, but, and I don't know what that, but as an example, right? I mean, the church owned all of that land. So if you need a case study, Windsor is your example of transitioning the church owned land. And those were all individual residences, and then transitioning, I don't know how many, do we know how many house, it was like 5 houses? Four houses. And then transition that into 120 units. So anyways, we're very proud of that. It was the long project, but, I know that you don't want to give addresses, but are there potential locations within our community? We're landlocked, we're small. Are there?
There are some that are faith-based communities. And obviously, there's also the opportunity for the adaptive reuse of office or commercial spaces as housing. So it's just a matter of like, which ones are being underutilized? Are they vacant a lot of the time? Those are policy considerations for you all to see if you can make the argument of how do we make that transition easier from like a retail office space to a residential office space.
Okay.
But as you mentioned, being landlocked, those are some of the typologies that came up within this research project.
But you do have some sites, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What I needed to know. Thank you.
Yep.
That's great.
Thank you.
Let's move. Exceed our 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Thanks for staying late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Roll call.
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Dr. Barry?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Teresa Harms?
Yes.